I want to please the Lord, and I want to do what is best, and I want to for his kingdom, and I want my will to be aligned with his will. I pray that prayer a lot.
Welcome to Sports Spectrum, keeping Jesus in the sports conversation. Here's your host for today's show, former ESPN producer, Jason Romano.
He is Aric Almirola. Welcome back to Sports Spectrum, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me back.
Absolutely. It's good to see you again. Good to talk to you. Last time we had you on, it was coming right out of COVID, I think early 2021, and you were getting ready for that season. And I was thinking about this, where we are today and talking to you. I was thinking about the word decisions, right? And there's different decisions that we all made that guide our life, that, decisions to read God's word, decisions to pray, decisions on whether to work out, decisions on whether to get up. And then there's the big decisions about whether to continue racing or not. And you made that decision last year, initially retiring, then not retiring. And I would love to dive into just kind of from the spiritual perspective, making that decision, seeking God, and kind of making, this move to continue racing.
Yeah, so I hope you have enough time, because it's a relatively in-depth story. But for me, there's no doubt that God's hand was in all of this, and there's no other way to explain it, really. For me, it doesn't make sense. So I had reached a point to where my kids were at an age where they were into all sorts of activities, and most of their activities were happening on the weekends. And so my wife was, the taxi cab driver. She's driving them back and forth on the weekends. She's taking videos of the stuff they're doing, sending them to me, or I'm watching live on FaceTime. And I just found myself going, what am I doing? Like, I'm sitting here chasing my dreams, and all the while sacrificing being a husband, being a father. Like, when my son does something good at the go-kart track or whatever, I can't be there to give him a high five when he's done, right? I'm doing my thing, thousands of miles away sometimes. And so I just got to the point where it was like, this is not working. I've got to find something that gives me more balance in life, and we need to talk about this. And my wife and I sat and we talked about it, and we prayed a lot about it, and things started to kind of fall in place to where it looked like God was pointing in the direction of, like, let's be done. And so for me, I had talked to Smithfield, my primary sponsor, and they said, yeah, if you wanna do one more year and call it quits, like, we're behind you. You've been the only person we sponsored in NASCAR, and we'll go out together. And so that was the plan. I announced I was going to retire at the beginning of the season, last season, and went into the year just taking it all in and knowing that it was going to be my last year. And Janice and I had talked about orchestrating our lives to where the kids could really enjoy it and go with me as much as possible, with it being my last year. And so the kids' school that we had signed them up for, they got accepted to go in as a Christian private school. They go to school during the week, but on Fridays is a satellite day. So every Friday they have off of school, and they are responsible to get their work done throughout the course of the weekend and turn it back in on Monday. And so we were like, this is amazing. We can travel together as a family. They're not missing school. And at the same time, Alex started playing baseball, and the baseball league that we got him signed up for in our area practices on Monday nights and has games on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, no weekend games.
Wow.
It's like, holy cow. Like, what is going on here? Like, we didn't know that going in. We just signed him up because he was like, I want to play baseball. And he had played t-ball, but then took some time off from baseball, and he was go-kart racing and playing flag football. And so we signed him up for baseball, and lo and behold, no weekend games. And then, my daughter's activities we transition those to the week. She's big into singing and theater, and so she takes voice lessons and does theater, and she loves it. And those all happen during the week. And so like all these things, like all these pieces of the puzzle started coming together, but it still was never crossing my mind that all of this was changing for the idea of me continuing to race. It was just working out better for us going into that season to
Yeah.
where we could travel as a family. And so we went through last season and we had an absolute blast. Janice and the kids came to 28 of the 38 races, and we made so many field trips out of the race weekends. Going, when we were in Richmond, we went to Jamestown and in Williamsburg, and when we were in Pocono, we drove over to Philadelphia and saw the Liberty Bell and went down and saw the historical sites down in Philadelphia. And we went to a Phillies game. And we've taken Abby to do horseback riding things. When we were out in Phoenix, Arizona, we went to Scottsdale and went on this big horseback riding adventure up in the mountains north of Scottsdale. And so all these different things that we've been doing, it's been so enjoyable and so much fun, and we've done it as a family, and all the while I'm still getting to race. And so halfway through last year, the race team and the sponsor said, "Hey, we would really like for you to reconsider retiring. Like we're having a good year, things are going well, and we don't really want to figure out the succession plan yet. We would like for you to reconsider." And so Janice and I talked about it, and we prayed a lot about it. And I talked to the MRO pastor that follows our racing circuit around, and I talked to them. And I was like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, is this the devil trying to entice me to do something out of my flesh because I'm chasing my dreams still and the money and all the things that come along with being a race car driver, or is this an opportunity from God? And like, how do I discern?
Mm.
And Billy, in his just wisdom, said, well, I view this from my perspective. I view this similar to Jacob taken, or is it Jacob or Isaac? I'm sorry for butchering this, but taking his son to the altar.
Oh yeah,
Right?
Isaac, I believe.
Isaac, and so
Abraham with Isaac.
Abraham, that's right.
Yeah.
So he said, I know it's very different. You're not taking your child to the altar, right? He said, but he said you took your career to the altar. He said you were willing to give up your career, and he said much like Abraham was willing to do whatever God called him to do, God just wants to see your obedience. And so you prayed through last year. And you said, okay, if you don't want me to race anymore and you want me to do something else, you want me to retire, you want me to be more engaged with my family and step away from, being self-focused, then that's what I'll do. And so Billy shared that with me, and it really hit home for me. And it was like, yes, that's absolutely correct. Like I took my career to the altar and said, God, this is yours. You do with it what you want. If you want me to retire, I'm telling the world I'm retiring. And so here I go. And for it to come full circle 8 months later and it be handed back to me was amazing. And it felt right. It felt like it was an opportunity from the Lord to continue to go and be a voice for his kingdom with my platform in our NASCAR industry. And for me, I just through a lot of prayer and talking with Janice, my wife, and other people that I respect that are, faith-based and have similar values as me. I wanted to make sure that I was making the right decision from a godly perspective and making sure that my will was aligned with his will. And I felt that way through the prayer and through the discussions and stuff that I was having with people. It just felt like this was an opportunity from the Lord to keep going. And even though I was willing to take my career to the altar, he said, no, thank you. Thanks for being obedient. But here you go. You keep racing, but you keep honoring me.
Wow. There's so much good stuff there. Did you feel that maybe that first race of 2023, which is what, the Daytona 500, right? Did you
Right.
feel that racing in that race? Like, look at this, like, look where God has me, and just some gratitude maybe to know that you're able to continue your career because your will is aligned with His.
Absolutely. Yeah, it felt weird to be there at first, going through all the media day and stuff. It's like I'm not supposed to be here. Uh,
Yeah.
and so there was a feeling of almost liberty, because in the past, every year starting a new season was always about the goals and achieving and making sure that I do my best so that I can keep my job and keep my sponsors happy and perform at the highest level. And all of those things are still true. I still want to do all of those things,
Yeah.
but yet I'm doing it, quote unquote, with house money. I feel like now, right? Like I'm doing it with an opportunity that I theoretically shouldn't have. And I just feel incredibly blessed. I've always felt blessed. I've felt like I've hit the lottery since I became a professional race car driver. Um, I not many people get to grow up dreaming of being X and actually get to be X, right?
I'm
And
with you.
and and so for me, I've always felt like I've hit the lottery being a race car driver, and I feel incredibly blessed and super fortunate. But this year just feels different because I don't think that I was supposed to originally do it. Like I didn't, and I announced to the world, and like, well, usually when you do that, like it's over.
Yeah.
And especially in our industry, like the sponsors have to figure out what to do next. The race team has to find another race car driver to fill your seat. And so all of those things were in place. And the race team was going through the process of figuring out who's going to drive the race car. The sponsors were going through the process of vetting out different drivers as well. And the race team, working through all of that, they never thought that I was an option. And so, all of a sudden for it to change and them say, "Hey, would you reconsider? We'd really like for you to reconsider." Um, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, it's the doors that God continues to open, I think, in you're like, all right, should I step through this door, or is this a door from Him, or is this a door from someone else? And how do you
Right.
decipher what to say yes to, and kind of knowing that it's from God and not from Aric, or not from, this world?
It's hard. It's hard
Yeah.
because it can be blurry sometimes, and it's not always easy to discern, because even though from a heart perspective, like naturally I want to please the Lord, and I want to do what is best, and I want to for His kingdom, and I want my will to be aligned with His will. I pray that prayer a lot,
Yeah.
for God to make sure that my heart is aligned with His will. But naturally, in this world, we are sinners, and we miss the mark in so many ways, so often, every single day. And so, yeah, when you get opportunities, you really have to check yourself, and you have to check your motives. And for me, that was really difficult, right? Because I still love to drive race cars. It's, the thrill and the adrenaline rush and all of those things. Like, yes, of course, I want to continue doing that. I love being around the people in the garage area, my team, and feeling a part of something, feeling like I belong, and feeling a part of a team. And then, it's very financially rewarding as well. And so all of those things play a factor, and you have to really weigh out all of those things and say, Lord, is this me going after these things in the flesh, or are you allowing me to have these things? And I came to the conclusion through a lot of prayer and talking to pastors and friends, that those things can be used one of two ways. They can be used for good, or they could be used for evil, right? Like everybody says, like, oh, money's the root of all evil. Well, no, it's not. The love of money is the root of all evil, not money. Money's just money. You can use it to be good, or you can use it to be evil. And the same for fame. You can use fame for good, or you can use fame to be a jerk. And so having those discussions and kind of coming to those conclusions on my own through prayer, I just realized that, yeah, I think this is absolutely an opportunity from God. And then now it's up to me to use it for the right way.
Mm. We're talking to Aric Almirola from Sports Spectrum from NASCAR here on Sports Spectrum. I'm going to do that again. 3, 2, 1. We're talking to Aric Almirola here on Sports Spectrum. You know, you mentioned prayer, obviously, and seeking the Lord in this decision, but we're talking to you kind of in the middle of a NASCAR season here, as opposed to when we last had you on, which was prior to the 2021 season, and it was the off season. So in season, like as we speak right now, what does it look like to spend time with God, to be in prayer, to seek Him? You mentioned, I think, MRO and the work that they do each week, but take us through kind of what it's like to try and stay connected to God in the middle of a season when you're so focused, like you said, on racing and making sure that you're with your team and preparing the best way possible for each race.
It looks chaotic, and
Yeah.
it looks messy, and it looks rushed, and it looks distracted. But I still make the effort to try and get it in, right? The opportunity to have quiet times is few and far between, especially with a house with 2 little kids and running as hard as I go from week to week. We have the longest season in sports.
Yeah.
It's 40 weeks long, and we only have one off weekend from the time we start the season, the first weekend in February, till the second week in November. We have one weekend off in the middle of June. And so, because of that, there's not a lot of like downtime to kind of rest, recharge the batteries. And there's not a lot of downtime just in general. I typically fly home from the races late Sunday night. I get home, if we're on the East Coast, I get home around midnight on a Sunday night. If we're on the West Coast, I'll get home at 4 or 5 a.m. On Monday morning. And Monday starts, right? The kids have school Monday morning. So
Yeah.
I'm up with the kids at 6:30, helping Janice pack lunches and get them out the door. Then I'm off to the shop. We're having meetings. We're breaking down the race from the prior weekend. Tuesdays are full of media and shop meetings with preparing for the race event that's coming up. And I'm there, and I'm taking care of business and as well taking care of sponsor requests. Wednesdays are also typically filled with media requests such as this, right?
Mhm.
And then Thursdays is usually a day off for me. And then Thursday night or Friday morning, depending on where we're going, we're back on an airplane going to the next city to race. And so in the midst of all that, I'm during the week when I'm home, helping coach baseball on a Monday night practice. We got Tuesday night games, Thursday night games. My daughter's going to her singing lessons in theater, and so my wife are going separate ways. We're trying to have dinners as a family.
Yeah.
We're trying to juggle all the things that normal people juggle every single day. But oh, by the way, we don't have the weekend to hang out and relax and recuperate and grill on the back deck and swim in the pool. We are jet setting across the country. And so usually the airplane is my time to have some quiet time, because that's dedicated time where I'm going to be sitting and I can't be moving and I can't be on the phone and I can't really do anything else. So I use that time on an airplane going to the races to have some quiet time and read through my Bible. We're also doing a Bible study. There's a group of drivers that are in a little Bible study through MRO at the racetrack, and I think there's 7 of us, and we're doing a Bible study based on the Chosen,
Yeah.
the TV show or the docu series,
Oh yeah.
which is amazing.
Yes.
And the Bible study is really good. We've dove into that, and it's been very thought provoking, and really really good. It's made us dive in and chew on the word, and it's been helpful. And then I try to get up earlier than I need to, 15 20 minutes earlier, but that doesn't always happen. I'm going to be honest. I need my sleep.
I get
And
it.
so, yeah, so trying to get up early is my best bet during the week. Doing it at night for me just rarely happens.
Yeah.
If I put it off and wait till nighttime, I get the kids to bed with Janice and she goes, she showers and goes to bed, and I want to go shower and go to bed and with her as well. And
Mhm.
if I sit out in the living room and try and focus on reading and get any sort of context out of what I'm reading, it is just a struggle for me. My mind is racing about all the things that happened that day and all the things that need to happen tomorrow and the rest of the week before we leave to go to the racetrack. And so my best opportunity is in the morning when I actually get up and do it.
And there's
Or
chapel
then
on Sundays too, Aric, right? Is that right?
we do. So we have a chapel service. It's usually 2 hours before the race,
Hmm.
and for the industry folks, so the crew guys and the drivers and their spouses and families, we have a chapel service for everybody in the industry, and it's 2 hours before the race every Sunday. So we do make that. I make it a point to make that. I rarely miss. If I miss, it's because I have some sort of sponsor appearance I need to make. I have to go to a suite or something like that,
Yeah.
and it ends up conflicting with the same time. But it's pretty rare that I miss chapel on Sunday.
I would imagine that's well attended too. If you're talking about crew, that sounds like a lot of people potentially going to something like that.
It is well attended, but one thing that I have had to learn through just this hectic lifestyle that I live, and being constantly on the go and never really having any sort of quote unquote downtime, is that I've had to learn that Jesus is with me every step of the way all day long. And so I don't necessarily have to have just, it's better when I have predetermined quiet time. I get more out of it, certainly. But I can be in my pickup truck driving down the road and I can just turn the radio off and have silence and I can have a conversation with God right there. And I've gotten way better at that, at just knowing that at any moment throughout the day, I can I can have a relationship. I can be in conversation um, with God, and it doesn't have to happen at a certain time every single day. It doesn't have to be so regimented. I used to get all worked up about it being regimented,
Hmm.
because I'm a very type A person and I like things to be a certain way, and I am very routine. But I've learned that I would get disappointed or I would feel like I was failing, and I would let this doubt creep in, and that's just the devil at work.
Yep.
And so I came to realize, like, no, it can be anytime, all day long, every day, right? And so I've gotten a lot better at that.
So as we wind down, I need to ask you, if you follow you on Instagram or on any of the socials, you see, and you talked about your son in go-karts, but he's also, it sounds like, a big sports fan in general. And you and him have been on this quest to visit all of the baseball and NFL stadiums that are out there. I love this idea, by the way. What has this experience been like trying to get to as many stadiums as possible?
It's been so much fun, as a dad, right? When you have children, there's this unconditional love, and you want to do things with them. But when they're little, like for me at least, when they were little, they just always wanted mom. And
Right.
then eventually they grow up a little bit, and you're like, all right, now we can play in the yard together. And now for me, like doing things sports related with my son is so much fun. And then for me and my daughter, like I try to take her on a date night once a month. I'll go wherever she wants to go eat, and we go on a date night and we do silly little things. And I enjoy spending sweet time with her. She's different. She's very different than my son. My son wants to be rough and play sports and do all the typical boy things. And my daughter wants to be a sweet little girl, and
Yeah.
she loves to ride horses. And so taking her to the barn and going to, ride horses, or to help her and watch her clean a horse, or whatever that is. Sharing those moments is special. But for me, as a huge sports nut myself, it's really, really cool to see my son get so invested in sports, and specifically baseball. He loves baseball. He knows all the stats about all of his favorite players, and he watches I don't know many people, including adults, that will sit through an entire baseball game from start to finish.
He does that.
Um, and he does that.
Wow.
And he's into it. Like he hangs on every pitch. And he loves the sport of baseball, and he loves sports in general. And so he's also got a very engineering driven mind, and he loves to build things. And so stadiums fascinate him. The very first time we ever went to a game, um, a baseball game, he was blown away at just the architecture of the stadium and all these different things. And so we went to Tropicana Field. I think it was the first baseball game he's ever been to. So obviously the dome and the fact that they play a baseball game inside,
Yeah.
because he goes to the baseball park and it's all outside, right? And so he thought that that's how they're supposed to be. But we go to Tropicana Field and it's indoors, and he's blown away. And so I told him, well, not every park is like that. And so he's like, well, I want to see one that's not. So that started the journey. And so he now has this quest of seeing every Major League Baseball park and every NFL stadium. And we are well on our way. I think we have 15 total.
Nice.
I think he's seen 6 NFL stadiums and 9 Major League Baseball parks. And so it's been a lot of fun. It's been really enjoyable, and my job affords that, right? Um, because we're constantly flying around the country for racing, so we can leave a night early, or they potentially are playing at home on the weekend while we're there. And so, like in Philly, we were at Pocono, which is about an hour away from Philly, and we turned it into a complete field trip. Right?
Mm.
We went to Philly and learned about all the history, the U.S. history in Philadelphia, but at the same time went that night to a game, and watched the Phillies play. So it's been a lot of fun to check off all these stadiums. He got for Christmas 2 big, huge cork boards with the U.S. map printed on each one, and one is got a star in every state where the NFL stadiums are, and the other one has a star where the MLB stadiums are. And so he's putting push pins in to check off all the stadiums that he's been to, and we're typically taking a picture at each stadium, me and him together. And so he's
That's
putting
awesome.
the picture with the push pin of the stadiums that he's been to. So
That's
we've
amazing.
had we've had a lot of fun, and we're going to check off quite a few more this year. So we're excited about that. Wrigley Field is on the list. Fenway Park,
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium. We're going to go to Dodger Stadium. So we have quite a few on the list that we're going to check off this year.
Oh, those are the legendary places, right? You should
I
go
know
to
it.
City Field as well. As a Mets fan, I've just been down there. I live up here in Connecticut. City Field has a ton of character and unique things that I think your son would really like if you can get to a Mets game as well. So add that to
Okay.
the list at some point for sure. What's the favorite that you've been to, and the one that you're most excited about going to that you haven't been to yet?
I think so far the favorite that I've been to. So I'll give you a favorite of each because it's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
So far the favorite baseball stadium that we've been to, probably. I don't know if it was just because it was an absolutely gorgeous day that day, or
That,
what,
that
but
helps, right?
we went to Detroit, and we watched the
Okay.
Tigers. The Tigers played the Rays, and we went down. I threw out the first pitch. It was before the Michigan race, so I threw out the first pitch, and the
Nice.
kids got to be on the field,
Oh,
and Alex got to talk to a lot of the Rays players as they were warming up, and they were all very nice and kind to him, and he was just in awe.
I imagine
And the weather was picture perfect for a baseball game. Um, it
that's what
was
you want. Yeah.
it was 70 degrees, as the sun was going down, and it was just absolutely perfect. And we had a lot of fun. So that was probably our most enjoyable experience in the park, was fun. And then for NFL stadiums, I'm from Tampa, so I'm obviously extremely biased to Raymond James.
Of
And
course.
Alex and I went to the NFC Championship game when we played the Rams
Yeah.
and got beat.
Yeah.
But that experience with him was so much fun. For the Bucks to be down as bad as we were down, and there feel kind of like there was no hope, And then all of a sudden we come storming back and we tie it up, and it's like, oh my gosh, like we've got a shot here. And I've never screamed so loud. I've never seen Alex vibrating so much and so excited. The stadium was just completely rocking. The cannons are going off on the ship, and we love Tampa. Love that stadium. But I will give an honorable mention. It's probably a much nicer stadium, but Tampa is just so near and dear to my heart because I grew up there. But the Las Vegas Raiders Stadium, we just went to Allegiant Stadium, and we got a full tour. Down in the locker rooms and out on the field, and the kids got to run around on the field and stuff. And so that stadium is mind blowing. I mean, just all the suites, and we got to see the I think it's the Win or Encore like lounge area. It's literally in the end zone, and they have like these Vegas style like club tables, and they are field level in the end zone.
Wow.
It's an amazing stadium. So I was blown away at the architecture and just the level of detail and how just beautiful it is. So it's probably the nicest stadium I've ever seen, but it's not going to get number one because Tampa's too near and dear to my heart.
I understand. Well, let me throw a couple stadiums if you haven't been to yet. Dallas's stadium with the Cowboys is just
I've been.
Jerry World's insane, as you know.
We've been.
Yeah, you've been there. Okay. How about you went to Lambeau, I think, right? And saw Lambeau.
We did. We went to Lambeau. That was an amazing experience. So of all the places, including Tampa, of all the places I've ever been for fan engagement and fan experience, absolutely. Lambeau Field takes the cake. That was an amazing experience. We purposely went to, because of my schedule, yes, but we purposely went to a game in December. It was the Monday before Christmas. Yes. And so it was the frozen tundra. I told Alex, I was like, if we're going to Lambeau Field, buddy, we're going to go when it's snowing and 0 degrees. And that's exactly what happened. I think it was like 9 degrees at kickoff and it was snowing.
You're a better guy than I am, because I went in October because I didn't want to be cold when I had my Lambeau Field experience.
Well, we had fun. We were prepared. We had long johns on and heated socks, and
nice.
We had a great time.
My last stadium, I think it's called US Bank Stadium, but it's the one in Minneapolis. I don't know if you've been to the Vikings.
Oh, we've not been there.
The architecture will blow your son's mind away, I think, in terms of how it's built and the way it's constructed. So if you get a chance to go to Minnesota, it's indoors, so you don't have to worry about the cold weather. But it's a pretty cool stadium as well. So
that's on his list. Well, obviously all of them are on his list, but from architecture standpoint, that one's on his list. And SoFi, the view and the architecture of SoFi really piques his interest.
I haven't been to SoFi yet. Hopefully someday. But listen, I appreciate your time, especially in the middle of a season, in the middle of a crazy week for you. But it's always good to talk Jesus, to talk NASCAR, and certainly fatherhood. Yep. We'll talk to you again hopefully sometime. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Thanks so much for watching today on Sports Spectrum. Make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos. And if you want more stories on sports and faith, check out our website, sportsspectrum.com.